Is your brain just an overly complicated, squishy computer? Or is your mind some kind of metaphysical magic trick that no one quite understands? It is a question as old as humanity itself, and one that continues to stump scientists, philosophers, and that friend who always talks too much at parties. Before we dive into this tangled web of brain cells, cosmic energy, and the mysteries of existence, remember to like this video and subscribe to the Why We Question channel. We are here to tackle the biggest, weirdest, and most fascinating puzzles about existence. So stay tuned for the next episodes. Now, let us dive into the question of the day. Is consciousness located in the brain, or does it exist in the mind? This debate lies at the intersection of neuroscience, philosophy, spirituality, and even quantum physics. And to be honest, the answer you get largely depends on who you ask, which discipline you study, and how comfortable you are with the idea of uncertainty. From a neuroscientific perspective, consciousness is often described as an emergent property of the brain. In simpler terms, this means that the incredibly complex networks of neurons firing in your brain give rise to your awareness, thoughts, emotions, and sense of self. Think of the brain as a highly sophisticated computer. The hardware, neurons, synapses, and the billions of connections between them, runs the software we call consciousness. Every thought you have, every feeling you experience, every memory you store, all of it is believed to be the result of electrochemical activity in your brain. Neuroscientists have made remarkable progress in identifying specific areas of the brain associated with different aspects of consciousness. For example, the prefrontal cortex is heavily involved in decision-making and self-awareness, while the limbic system plays a central role in processing emotions. The hippocampus helps with memory formation, and the thalamus acts as a kind of relay station, integrating sensory information that contributes to your conscious experience. Even more fascinating is the discovery of the brain's default mode network, a network of regions that seems to be active when you are daydreaming, reflecting, or thinking about yourself. These findings strongly suggest that consciousness is deeply rooted in the physical brain. But here is where it gets tricky. Even though we can map out which parts of the brain are active during different conscious states, we still do not fully understand how this activity translates into subjective experience. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness, a term coined by philosopher David Chalmers. How does the brain's physical activity, the firing of neurons, the flow of chemicals, create the rich inner world of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions? Why does brain activity feel like something? This question has yet to be answered, despite decades of research. On the other side of the debate, we have the concept of the mind, which is often seen as something less tangible and more mysterious than the brain. Philosophers, spiritual leaders, and some scientists argue that consciousness cannot be fully explained by the brain alone. Instead, the mind is seen as a non-physical entity or an emergent phenomenon that transcends biology. In this view, the mind may be connected to deeper metaphysical realities, such as a universal consciousness or a spiritual dimension. For example, some traditions in Eastern philosophy, like those found in Hinduism and Buddhism, view consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality, not merely a byproduct of brain activity. According to these perspectives, the mind is not confined to the physical body. It is part of a larger, interconnected whole. Similarly, the concept of panpsychism, a philosophical theory gaining traction in recent years, suggests that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, present even in the tiniest particles of matter. Adding to the mystery are phenomena that seem to challenge the idea that consciousness is strictly brain-based. Near-death experiences, for instance, have been reported by individuals whose brains show little to no measurable activity. In these cases, people often describe vivid sensations, memories, and encounters that feel more real than ordinary waking life. How can such experiences occur if the brain is essentially offline? Similarly, during deep meditative states, some individuals report a sense of merging with the universe or experiencing an expansive awareness that seems to go beyond the physical self. Are these experiences evidence that consciousness exists outside the brain, or are they simply the result of altered brain activity? Quantum physics also occasionally enters the conversation, albeit controversially. Some theorists speculate that consciousness might arise from quantum processes in the brain, or that it could even interact with the quantum field, connecting us to the fabric of the universe itself. While these ideas remain speculative and are often criticized for lacking empirical evidence, they highlight how little we truly understand about the nature of consciousness. The implications of this debate are enormous. If consciousness is purely a product of the brain, it suggests that our sense of self, our memories, and our personalities are tied to a physical structure that will one day cease to function. This perspective raises profound questions about mortality, identity, and the nature of life itself. On the other hand, if consciousness resides in the mind, and the mind is not tied to the brain, it opens up the possibility that some aspect of our being may exist beyond physical death. This idea resonates with spiritual traditions that speak of the soul, reincarnation, or life after death. It is worth noting that the brain versus mind debate is not an either-or question for everyone. Some thinkers propose a more integrated view, suggesting that the brain and mind are deeply interconnected, but not identical. In this framework, the brain serves as a kind of receiver or conduit for the mind, much like a radio receives signals from the airwaves. The mind, in turn, may connect us to dimensions of reality that the brain alone cannot fully explain. So, where does this leave us? For now, consciousness remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence. Despite advances in neuroscience and philosophy, we are still grappling with fundamental questions about what it means to be aware, to think, and to experience the world. Is consciousness just a biological phenomenon confined to the brain? Or is it a profound, universal force that transcends the limits of our physical bodies? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between. Or perhaps it is a question we are not yet equipped to answer. What do you think? Is your consciousness rooted in your brain, your mind, or something beyond either? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know where you stand on this fascinating and perplexing topic. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the Why We Question channel for more deep dives into the mysteries of existence. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and remember, your brain, or maybe your mind, needs exercise too.